Hey and welcome, msKIRAspeaks. Before we get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. We are back again for another episode of Snowfall, Season 5, Episode 7, Lying in a Hammock. So, as the episode opens, we see Franklin and Leon. They're meeting with Unc and Louie to discuss what happened when they met with Kane. Now, we know Kane told them next time he would get the thing right. Unc asks about Peaches, and Franklin tells him he doesn't think he knew. Peaches just wanted the money. He tells them he hired a professional to hunt him down, and Louie wants to know how they hit back at Kane. We don't, Leon says. Not yet. And that's not what Unc wanted to hear. Leon tells him Kane's an OG. He has pull everywhere. We hit him, it's a war. We already at war, Unc says. Louie says they can hit him. They just have to make sure that they don't know it's them. Leon ain't having no cop kill the man that practically raised him. He says he'll handle it. He plans to sit down with him and let him know he has two options. We fix the shit with the family, or Leon takes him and his whole crew out himself. And it turns out that they never took care of Kev's family after Franklin shot and killed him. Wow. So Louie notices Franklin is awfully quiet, and he says that he and Leon spoke on the way over. If it was anyone else, he put them down in the ground and their whole family like, listen, I get the severity of the situation, but because it's Kane, they can't. It's delicate. If Leon says he can handle it, I say let him try. Unc is pissed. He said he's going to find Peaches and then he's coming for Kane. Leon says it's not just about Kane. It's about our people wiping each other out. Like I said, Unc ain't want to hear nothing Franklin and revolutionary Leon had to say. So Gustavo goes to Paris's to get Teddy. She offers to look at his face, but he says he's fine. She's worried that Teddy's stitches won't hold and that he'll risk an infection. But Teddy tells Gustavo, move the bricks into your trunk. Teddy gives her a bag of cash and he thanks her. And on the way out, Parissa tells him that she looked in his wallet and found out that his real name is Theodore. Now, they either need to move this Parissa story along or let her go because I'm over it. So Franklin is at the office and V is on the phone talking business, and she tells him that the city received proof of funds, but it looks unprofessional to ask for an extension. If they miss this deadline, the bid goes back up and they could risk losing the property. Franklin is looking for Sissy, and V mentions she's having coffee with a friend. So V says she'll handle the bankers and work the phones. Miss Thing, she's having cramps. Franklin suggests they call a doctor, but she says she already spoke to her and that the time between 10 weeks and 12 weeks is a delicate one and they just have to wait it out. And she brings up a possible miscarriage before that 12th week, and Franklin, he's concerned. His pager is going off like crazy. It's Teddy. CIA Teddy, who's going to end up killing you if the gangsters don't. Teddy, now you're starting to sound like my mother. He asks if they've been talking, but V is more concerned about losing the deal that she's worked so hard to secure. She tells him to handle his business and she'll handle this business here. So Teddy and Gustavo, they're waiting for Franklin, and as they're waiting, Teddy questions the 3 coordinated hits. He believes it had to be somebody on the inside. Gustavo says he couldn't say, that he left after Xiomara came. He mentions his mother cleaning him up. Whose mother? Teddy asks. None other than Sissy Saint. And I was thinking to myself, this can't be good for Sissy. So Franklin arrives and there's some small talk before he tells Teddy that it was Peaches. It was an inside job that they didn't see coming. Teddy is annoyed, sloppy as hell, he says. Franklin says he's taking care of it. Teddy mentions his new security. Former Mossad, Franklin says. He's upping his security. Teddy's asking the guy all kinds of questions, and Franklin admits it's on him, but he's gonna fix it. That's not something I can trust anymore, Teddy says. Teddy says that he'll set up the meets from now on. He'll call him a few minutes before with the time and location. He says he'll come alone. Franklin says he needs security. I'm your security. Send Oso, I'll send one of my people in. Teddy is not trying to hear any of it. He's raising his voice. He says he'll tell him from now on how it goes. Teddy brings up the high-profile deal with the city and Sissy. Franklin tries to assure him that the real estate and his mother are not connected to what they're doing. Teddy shouts, "Everything is connected." He tells him to pull out of the deal, but Franklin tells him it's too late. No more high-profile buys. You want to buy up the whole ghetto? I don't care. But you will not make one more move that draws attention to us. And I don't like these racial undertones that Teddy has going on this season. Unc goes to the VA to look for Peaches. They say they can't give him any info, but he slides the lady at the front desk a few dollars, and we find out that Peaches was there last week. He saw one of the doctors there. So as Unc is on his way up the hallway to talk to Dr. Evans, we see a guy looking at him. We find out that Peach's real name is Dejon Hill. Unc, he gets hit with the gurney, so the doc says, let me take a look at your hand. Wall or face? Unc's looking like, huh? Face. He broke 2 metacarpals. Dr. Evans, he splints it and wraps it up for him because that's all that he can really do. He says he doesn't remember seeing Peaches. I don't believe him. And then he brings up his time in Korea and he asks Unc where he served. Jerome says he's sorry to have took up his time. And Dr. Evans recommends counseling. He says it's free there. So on the way out, the guy that was looking at him earlier approaches him and he calls his name. The guy's name is Oakley. They met at a house party with Peaches a couple years ago. He says he was at Peaches last week and he tells, Unc, I can take you to him. So Leon, he meets with Kane at this burger spot. Leon tells Kane that Kev betrayed them by going behind their back to the Mexicans. Kane says it was revenge for Delroy. Mexicans killed Delroy for slinging in their territory. The Vato that Kev was about to kill was a Mexican OG that would have wiped them all out, including Kane, who was sitting in prison at the time. Leon says they didn't mean to kill him. They were trying to stop him, and it all went wrong. He says he'll own up to his mistakes, but Kane came for the family, and now they all want blood. Leon gives him, this nostalgic speech about growing up and how he raised him and blah, 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 and then he offers to help his family. He's going to let him in on the game. I don't know that we can trust Kane, y'all, but we about to see. So Unc, he sits in on a VA support meeting, and one of the guys is talking about his first kill. He'd never been out of Houston, and suddenly he was in the jungle. He was just trying to survive and had 3 kills in his first week in country. He couldn't sleep for days. He still has nightmares about it. And as he continues to talk and he's saying how he's angry all the time, they pan to Jerome and you can tell that he's affected. So afterwards, Oakley and Unc are in the car. They're talking about the meeting. This guy is basically just fronting for court while everybody else in there is being real. And he's directing him to, I believe, a dealer's house. He tells him that he can wait in the garden. And Jerome, he waits out, he gives him a couple of dollars and he waits out there and it's peaceful and it's serene. I mean, we see koi fish and we see the sun going down. And I swear we saw Jerome tear up a little bit. It's a lot. Jerome has a lot on his plate. So Sissy comes into Franklin's office. She's been running his errands. She made collections at one of the properties. Hi, hello. Where's Wanda, y'all? Wasn't that her job? We haven't seen Wanda in 2 or 3 episodes, and I am concerned. So Franklin gets on her for not having security. Sissy says they're not looking for her and asks if V is working with the bank. Franklin affirms and asks if she said something to her. Sissy says she did. Franklin doesn't appreciate her going behind his back, and he's very rude about it. Sissy asks what would have happened if V got shot, or worse. She says she's trying to help. Franklin, he starts with his Denzel Training Day-ish, and he ends with, help keep the peace instead of making everything worse. Sissy, she ain't trying to hear none of it. She does not like his tone, and she goes on about her business. So Louis meets with Buckley at some bar, and he said he's heard some rumors about who came after them. Louis says she has more than that, so she slides a piece of paper over. It's a name and where they stay. We can assume that that's Kane. He only been out of prison a few months, so the address could be temporary. He asks what she's looking for, a bust or to send him back. And I honestly thought that's where she might go with it because he had been looking for his red meat for some time now. She doesn't answer, and he says what she's looking for may be too expensive. So she gets up and she goes to walk away. He kind of grabs her and pulls her back. Either you can get it done or you can't. He says he can, but it'll cost her $250. Louis says $50 now and $50 when it's done. He says $100 and a real date. $75. And no. Or she can find someone else. You think you're the only cop in LA with his hands out? He says he'll look into it. Don't take too long, she says, before she makes her exit. So Gustavo, he's with the product when Teddy comes in, and Teddy's got all kinds of wireless transmitters, telephone taps, and he asks Gustavo for his help with setting them up. Some are a two-man job. Franklin, Gustavo asks. Teddy says he's gotten lazy, can't afford to take any more chances. Now, Oso and Franklin have always had a bond. But after being locked up with the Tigers, and then tied up with the essays, and then Franklin coming back for Oso, I think Oso is going to side with Franklin on this one, especially since Franklin told him about Teddy listening in on them at the first drop. And seeing him do this now, Oso could easily be next. Teddy apologizes for leaving him. He says he was hit and he wasn't thinking clearly and he had to get out of there. He says he shouldn't have left him behind, but he's glad he's okay. Nah, Teddy, that ain't gonna do it. You left him for dead, in my Mama D voice. So at the office, Sissy, she looks in her bag and we see that pen, and it looks like next to it we see a tape recorder. And then she looks up at the office. I think it was V's office, but I can't be too sure. And then she just closes the desk drawer. So Franklin and Leon, they meet with Louis to discuss his meeting with Kane. You got him making money for you now, Louis asks, and you trust him? End of the day, he just wants to look out for his family, Leon tells her. Now this scene was all about Louis' face. The way she looked was priceless because Louis was like, okay, y'all. So she takes a minute before she says, got the target off our backs. There's peace in the land. That's good enough for now. Now she says this, but we already know she got an arrangement with Buckley, which is why her face is a whole mood. So Unc and Oakley, they're still roaming the plains looking for Peaches. Oakley, he knocks on someone's door and he gets no answer. They must all be down, he says. They must all be down. So he lets himself in and he calls for Curtis. And Unc, he pulls out the strap. You think I don't know when someone's running a game on me? I am the game. Because they are smack in the middle of a trap house where folks are just zombied out. Apparently, Peaches had been there, but Jerome just cannot believe that Peaches was a junkie. He was just looking for a way to escape the pain, Oakley says. And it looks like we have some answers. So now Peaches was on drugs. So that could be how he got HIV from sharing needles, if that's in fact what he has. Maybe him watching Franklin take out his junkie friend just did it for him. And what I would like to know is how none of them knew. Nobody seemed to know that Peaches was on the drugs, y'all. Unc asked where he is now. He said if he could pull it off, he'd have to run. He talked a lot about Thailand. Burma, we hear someone say. This is BS, Jerome says. Then he has this look on his face and we see someone with a needle falling out of their arm. What a waste of life, he says before he walks out. Now there is no way that Peaches could empty out all of that money by himself. And honestly, did he need all of it? Just greedy. Why not just take a little bit, Peaches? And I'm still not quite sure about his involvement yet. And child, we get another scene with Teddy and Parissa that we did not need. So she redoes his stitches and they make small talk about him wanting to come back, just to see her and how, he liked her back when they were in Tehran, or so she says. More talking. You were so green back then, so pure, so by the book. More talking. She calls him a grumpy asshole. He calls her a bitch. She touches him and then they kiss and they do what grown folks do. Again, they could have kept all of that. So at the club, Louis tells Unc about Franklin and Leon's arrangement with Kane. He's annoyed and wants to know why they will believe that Kane will go along with it. We asking the same question. What they believe doesn't matter to me anymore, Louis says. She wants to move forward with Buckley. He had told her he didn't want to make no deals, but he tells her to do what she's going to do and he will protect her. Sorry about Peaches. Makes sense though. If I was on the needle and I saw Franklin kill Rob, I'd be making my exit plan too. I said the same thing, Louis. She asked if he's okay. He says he's fine, but he needs to make some changes. He'll be there for her whenever she needs him, but he needs to reconnect back with his people. He needs to get back to his plans, building businesses in their neighborhood for their people. Louis says she's with it. He has to build his dreams too. And I love seeing that she supported Unc, because we know my girl Louis can be a little selfish. As long as you ain't running off to Thailand or Burma tracking down peaches, she's fine with whatever he wants to do. We can go there on the honeymoon. Louis like, huh? He gets down on one knee and he tells Louis he knows what he wants. Let's make this official. I love you. Luann, will you marry me? Now, at first, I was like, but aren't they already married? They had me call her Aunt Louie for the last 4 or 5 seasons, and y'all just hood married? Okay. And then my next thought was, we ain't getting no younger, we might as well do it. So she smiles and she shakes her head and she says yes, and she laughs, and yes, she will marry him, and they kiss. So now we back to V and the BS. Her and Franklin are at the office and the international banks have expedited the transfers. But she wants confirmation from First National as soon as it opens. She goes to apologize, but he's like, no, you were right. So he asks about the cramps. She says they're better, but that nausea is back with a vengeance. So she asks him about the threats. He tells her that Leon handled it. And when he tells her that Kane is going to work with them, she asks him, and why would he do that? We do deals here all the time, and we've seen when they're in bad faith. One thing my mother taught me, deal with liars all your life, you usually suss one out. And Franklin, he had this look on his face, and I hope that means because he's going to smarten up and listen to the words that are coming out of her mouth. So Teddy, he meets with some guy. He asks if anything will be able to be traced back. The guy tells him no, his cover is layered and deep. Whole time I'm sitting here confused, like, what exactly is going on? What do you need from me? Teddy asked. Bank account numbers, passwords, records of previous wire transfers, and all forms of identity confirmation. He said he'll need 24 hours to make all the necessary transfers once he receives it and route everything to an untraceable account. So, not only is V trying to rob Franklin, but it looks like Teddy is also too. So Louis, she meets with Buckley, and he has such a thing for Louis, y'all. It's crazy. She asks him what he's got. He tells her Kane isn't even trying to hide. No, that's not scary at all. It won't be easy, but it's doable. He tells her, he needs a couple of weeks to set it up, to see, his patterns, his comings, his goings, So he notices a new ring, and Jerome did good on that ring, y'all. Buckley is like, me, I thought you two were married already. Louis, she's smiling from ear to ear, and he congratulates her. Marriage can be a beautiful thing, he says. And married women are even sexier. Before she redirects him like, okay, let's talk business. The only thing that she really needs to know is that she's sure. Once you press that button, there's no turning back. You sure you want to do this? So she hesitates. And she says, do it. Whoo, y'all, it's about to be a whole problem. Louis done started some shit, y'all. So we see Jerome, and he pulls up somewhere, and he gets out of his car, and it's his old place. And that is where we end. What a show, y'all. Please put your thoughts down in the comments. Now, we got a lot of character development on Unc in this one episode, so it ain't looking so good for Jerome, y'all. The good sis Demetria L. Lucas predicted he would be gone in season 4 when she interviewed Amin Joseph for her podcast. And I'm going to have to take a moment to appreciate the brother, because Amin Joseph is a good looking man, y'all. But anywho, if you have made it this far, put a ring emoji down in the comments for Unc and Louis' engagement. Where is Peaches, y'all? Hell, where is Wanda? I hope you'll come back and join me for my review of episode 8, because we are going to a wedding, y'all. Oh, it's about to be some stuff. While you're here, please check out some of my other content. Thank you. And before you go, please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate y'all. Peace.